Hey Minties, on this new episode of Reels Talk, we're going to be doing our wrap-up review of the Season 3 of True Detective, so stay tuned. So we wanted to go ahead and do a wrap-up review, kind of talk about what we liked about the plot, the actors, the way it was filmed, and just our thoughts in general on the episodes.
And just in case, spoilers. So really quick, the synopsis of this is... it takes place in 1980 at first.
Yes.
With a voiceover from 1990, and the character's name is Wayne.
Yes, Wayne Hayes, Detective Wayne Hayes,
Purple.
played by Mahershala Ali.
Yes, Oscar winner,
yes.
Mahershala Ali. He's talking about a case that him and his partner Roland, played by Stephen Dorff.
So in this season, there are 3 different timelines we follow.
3.
So the first one is 1980, when the actual crime had occurred, and these 2 detectives are now wrapped up into it.
Pretty much the case is about 2 missing kids,
yes.
a boy and his sister. They tried to figure out where these kids are. They went riding their bikes off into the wilderness, I guess, and went missing. That's pretty much episode 1, and the ending of episode 1 is the hook that the son, the brother, is dead. They find him in like a prayer position.
And then in 1990, the case has been reopened, and mainly the reason of the case, the person they had ended up finding to be the one who killed the children, his family is now coming back and saying, we want this case reopened, we want his name cleared, and so the case has been reopened. A lot of stuff has happened in those last 10 years with the characters, marriages, people have lost their jobs and been reassigned, other people have passed away in the case, have gone missing, and so now you have them starting a new investigation.
And that's in 1990.
That's in 1990. Then you have 2015. So in 2015, what has occurred is Detective Hayes is now retired. He's an older man, and his son he's working with this documentarian, Eliza Montgomery, and she is basically doing a documentary on this case, pretty much because it's remained unsolved for a number of reasons, and there's a lot of disappearances, a lot of deaths, and so of course it's a parody of a lot of the true crime documentaries.
Now, one thing to point out though is that the character of Detective Wayne Hayes suffers from dementia. Like right from the beginning, he gets out a tape recorder and he listens to it, and he's like, hey, you're doing a documentary today, don't forget who you are. His son's name, Henry.
Henry, yep.
Henry's coming to pick you up to take you over there. So he's in his 70s, suffering from memory loss, dementia, just apparently so bad that he has to have this tape recorder. And at the end of the tape recorder, it's like, and if things go wrong or something like that, don't forget, open that drawer. And inside the drawer is his gun. The rest of the season is this whole investigation.
Told from multiple view timeline.
Yeah, it bounces back between 2015 and 1980 at first, because the opening of the case in 1990 wasn't that big of a deal until the ending of episode 2, which is revealed that Julie is still alive because they found fingerprints at a crime scene. By this point in 1980, he meets this young lady, Amelia, who's a teacher at the school where the kids went to school. So he starts questioning her, and right off the bat you see this chemistry building, and you see him flirting with her, so much so that in that same episode at the bar, they're telling each other like little secrets almost about themselves and fears and things like that. So I thought that was really good. Roland is still alive in 1990, and he's like, hey, I got a new task force, let's go find her, right?
Yes,
so that's where 1990 takes us. So now we have the case reopened in 1990 with the thought that Julie is still alive. 1980, they're still cracking skulls, trying to question people. There's this trash man.
Yep, the trash man that is a war veteran.
What's interesting is that's what is revealed, like Purple, or Detective Hayes, was also
in Vietnam. Yes.
And he was in Recon, I think, wasn't he?
Yes.
So that was part of his thing.
He has good tracking skills.
He was there for 2 years.
Yes, and he has really good tracking skills, which plays a big role in being a detective. That's how he's the one who finds Will's dead body.
It's this whole time, Amelia has taken an interest in this case while she's dating him, so much so that she's writing paper, and eventually in the 1990 timeline she's writing a book.
And we find out they're married, and
they have 2 kids.
And then by 2015 you find out she has passed away at some point. Throughout the entire season, you know he lost his job from being a detective to just being on the desk, but you don't really know why. And then you have, throughout these same timelines, you have Roland always trying to throw him a bone, trying to help him out, because clearly they are friends.
I guess by episode 5, I like to call the kind of the shootout, the action scenes.
Yes.
And it's at Trash Man's place. Webbard? Is that his name? I cannot remember his name. The Native American character. It's at his place where all these rednecks and hicks go because they think he's the one that's killed the little boy and the little girl. And they have a shootout.
because obviously.
And it's an amazing shootout. Like, he just takes down all these guys, and Hayes has to mercy kill this character because he let him live on purpose. Like, he had Hayes dead to rights, and he let him go because he knew he was going to commit suicide through him. And I thought that was such a really good, important scene because you kind of see the character that Hayes is and what he's had to do. Because this whole time in the 1990s and in 2015, they keep mentioning, oh, we had to do some bad things back then. Yeah. So much so that you're led to believe, oh, they killed people because of this case.
And they have.
And they did.
And he's not the only one who ends up getting murdered.
Right, so this guy gets murdered, and case closed because they find Will, the little boy's backpack
underneath his house.
Yes, and then the little girl's clothes burning in the furnace. Now, the whole time, Hayes is like, no, this is not right. And in the meantime, Amelia's questioning other people. So much so that she's looking for a black man with a dead eye.
Yes.
That's where she's gone. She went to like I guess it was like where it wasn't a Catholic church. It was just a nun sanctuary where people go, and she interviewed somebody that had stayed with this girl claiming to be Julie.
Yes.
So she's solving this part of the crime. Meanwhile, everybody's closed to the crime because they were like, nope, that guy did it, and crime is now closed. The case is closed in 1980, moving on to 1990.
There's all these secrets, right, in this case. A lot of people have their own issues.
That's what I love about this show.
The parents of the kids have an estranged marriage. She's off sleeping with other people. He's just doing the best he can.
There's
dad
this
has
cousin that slept over at their house that and her and him had a thing going.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are. There are so many red herrings. You're like, okay, the dad sold him off, the mom sold him off, right? Everything. Meanwhile, then we have this company that they worked for called the Hoyt Company. It was like a, what is it, chicken farm?
It was like so basically
that's where Tom and she worked, right?
Yes, she worked there on the chicken line. And you have this connection to this chicken farm, this Hoyt dynasty. Edward Hoyt is the patriarch of this family.
Now, it's important to mention the Hoyt family because this all comes into play. And all these little things that you thought were insignificant become such a big thing. So what Roland and Hayes ended up doing was killing somebody. He was like working security for the Hoyt farm. Harris James, he was former police back in the 1980s.
So you find out a lot of facts. So this Hoyt family, Edward Hoyt, somehow was involved in this case. And you find out also other people have died as well. We always mention that. So Lucy Purcell, the mother of Julie and Will, she had committed suicide,
That's what we're led to believe,
in Las Vegas before 1990. Somewhere between 1980, I think it was 2 years before 1990 when they reopened the case, she had died. Her cousin had committed suicide, or they found him dead. They found him dead or something. They found him dead, his bones, and then this gentleman, Harris James, who's the head security of Hoyt Farms, had gone missing. And it is revealed in the 7th episode that it was Detective Hayes and Detective West who actually killed him because they were questioning him because of the backpack. They ended up killing him because they also feel like he was responsible for Tom's murder. Yes, even though Tom also committed suicide. We find out that somebody does know in 1990. Somebody knows what they did, right? In the late 1990s, it's Edward. And so you're led to believe another red herring that all this is some big conspiracy theory. I was upset because I was like, I don't want to see their characters show up like Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey going, weird. Good job, guys. You guys are real true detectives at the end of the 2015 timeline. That's not what I wanted. But anyway, it didn't go that route. It did not. So then, we find out that the Hoyt family was involved. They did everything. And let's talk about the ending. Okay, so basically they figure out this gentleman, Junius, or Mr. June is what he called himself back in 1980, has something to do with the case. They track him down, and I guess because of years of guilt, whatever the case may be, he finally tells them the entire story. And it's kind of heartbreaking, very simple, and nothing like what you probably would have expected. It's not... Yeah, like the Isabel, I think was her name, the daughter of the rich... Edward Hoyt. So Edward Hoyt had a daughter. She had a husband and a daughter named Mary. They both died in a tragic car accident, and it left her
crazy.
Yes, it mentally unstable.
So crazy that she wanted to buy the daughter, Julie, from Lucy.
Because
Lucy
was okay because she
the character she was okay with it. So they had play dates together for her to get used to playing with Julie, and then through one of these play dates is where the son ends up getting killed
by accident.
By complete accident,
and that's why. And it's funny because Amelia mentions like it looks like it was done like. It had to be an accident because the way his body was placed, it was placed with care and love.
That's where they find Will looking like he's praying.
In a prostate. So basically, what happened is Isabel wanted to adopt her. Everything was going to go through. She ran away with her. They paid off Lucy. So while the whole 1980 investigation is going on, she's living in the basement area of the Hoyt mansion in this pink room. And unbeknownst to Junius,
almost like a dungeon,
she was being drugged every day by Isabel with lithium, so she could not really remember who she was. And eventually, as she grew up, her mind,
much like Hayes, has fragments of lost memories.
Junius tries to help her escape,
and he says, "Meet me here." She doesn't. And years later, he finds her at a Covenant, and that's where she was living. So that's where Roland, now in 2015, and Hayes go and talk to the nuns. She's like, "Oh yeah, she was here, but she died. She had the HIV." And just like them,
it's over.
I don't feel any closure, man. Yeah. And they're like, no. But during this time, in 2015, now they're building this relationship, right? You see Roland now loving dogs instead of hating them. You see him, like, saying, "Hey, man, I think I'm going to move in. Do you mind if I stay here a couple of days?" I thought that was so sweet.
Yes.
Because they're both old men. Roland never married. He never had kids. It wasn't over yet. Because you're right, he opens the book and it says like she had a childhood friend and he missed her the most. And when they went to visit the nuns' covenant, he ran across this little girl that was with her dad,
named Lucy, which is the name of her biological mother.
Right. And the father, whose name I cannot remember, but he was Freddie, I think.
Yes.
Who was the boy that
they interviewed
you
way
vaguely
back in, like,
see in episode 1. Well, you see in episode 1 wave at her. And he starts putting things together, and he's talking to the apparition of Amelia, because that's what he does throughout the season.
He does talk to his
ghost, she's like, yeah, maybe they faked her death. And he's like, oh, god damn, okay. So he goes and finds her address, goes to see her. But in the process of going to see her, his dementia kicks in, and he starts forgetting why he's there.
Why he's there.
And there's this beautiful moment where he sees adult Julie. She's like, "Can I help you, sir?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know why I'm here." And there's this brief second where he looks at her and you're like, he knows. And then he goes away. And my God. And it all ends with him calling his son. So Henry goes and picks him up. Now, Erica, his daughter, I think that's her name.
Yes.
They're all together along with Roland. They're all sitting on their front porch. Henry and his wife and the grandkids.
Yes.
And they're all looking outside, drinking their tea, looking at the front porch. Beautiful ending, and he sees a bunch of kids with the bikes, and then you see a close-up of his eye. He has a flashback to this beautiful moment, because the whole time you're like, what is his relationship with his wife? What happened?
Yeah.
You see this moment in the bar that you hadn't seen yet where, they kind of walk off and everything is fine because in the 90s, because they put the past behind them. They put the missing kids behind them, because that's what this was all about, missing kids.
And that's how the relationship started, and that was hanging over their relationship the entire time. And it ends with him back in Vietnam walking through the jungle, which it could also be a reflection of the jungle in his mind.
Or purgatory. This is one of the few shows I will say that you have to give it your all attention to. There's very few shows I would say that too.
You can't just watch it in the backdrop. You have to watch it.
And I'm glad, because I am notorious for watching shows with my phone on and just browsing through my phone while something's happening. But with this and Sharp Objects, I gave it my full attention. And oh my God, the payoff was so worth it, because it deserves it.
And I think the timeline jumps were well done throughout the entire season.
Absolutely.
And I think it was a great reflection of, because a lot of people early on had theories that maybe this was all in his head and it was his dementia. But really, it's just, it's just his memory. And that's how you remember, right?
That's the beauty of these flashes. The beauty of these shows is that anybody can be like, oh, okay, well, yeah. Maybe he's lost his mind. Maybe he wasn't a detective. Maybe at one point you're like, maybe he's the one.
It's not that deep, but
well, maybe he's the one that killed the kids, right? Maybe he's the one that, right? It doesn't matter. But man, what a wonderful story. I fell in love with it. Let's talk about the acting really quick. Mahershala Ali, I knew what to expect. That's the reason why I came into this season.
Exactly, me too.
But I remember texting you all, and I was like, so Stephen Dorff is amazing.
Yes,
because that first episode, I was not... Stephen Dorff, the guy from The Gate, the guy from Blade. He was
in Britney Spears Every Time video. but no one else knows WWE. But yeah, he hasn't been in a lot of stuff, at least well-known recently.
You don't really hold him as one of those actors that's like, I don't think he's that has a range.
He killed it this season.
Man, his character was so awesome. And just the way that he pulled it off, so badass. And even with all that heavy makeup that he had for the 2015, he was amazing when he's delivering the lines about how he's by himself. He doesn't have a wife, no kids, so he can drink as much as he wants to. I love that delivery. Yeah, it was wonderful.
I think those two, by far, it was a great casting choice.
But the real True Detective was Amelia.
Yes.
That's the definition of... Man, she never gave up. She figured it out. But man, she turned out to be the real freaking True Detective.
You think it's like a commentary on the bureaucracy of, like, you know, the police departments and stuff? How she was able to go off and do all this research without getting stopped by anyone else, whereas the two detectives
had to put a stop
to put stops at various points for various reasons because they were held back by someone else's ambitions, someone else's agendas, and it's an interesting commentary.
No, it really is.
Yeah, that not only she turned out to be one of the best detectives in the show, but also that she was able to find the, you know, in her own way, find the truth.
One of the most, I really liked her character because I thought she was one of the most complex characters of the entire True Detective series.
She's one of the more complex female characters. A lot of times it's just like a one note and they're there just as a muse for
the detective's wife that has to deal with the stress and struggles. But no, she was amazing.
Her own person. It was quite interesting to see her story evolve too. So I think they did well with the writing of that.
I was completely blown away by the season. I was moved to tears at the end because it's a beautiful look at the inside of a man's mind, and through the many timelines, much like his brain that switch on and off and you're going back and forth, much like his brain, you're told this one story. Who did what? And I love that about it, that those puzzle pieces are put together, and just when you got to figure it out, you get this beautiful ending that, unlike any other True Detective season, it's a happy ending.
It is.
I mean, season 1 had a good ending, but
it wasn't
this is
happy.
A true happy
because
ending.
Because the one person that you thought was dead, or, you know, we all think she's dead up until
she got a happy ending.
She got a happy ending.
But I'm mainly talking about Roland and Hayes. They got a happy ending.
They got to be, you know, friends again. He's reconnecting with his family. Because obviously you mentioned his daughter. There was an estrangement there, and we never
knew until the last 2 episodes that he was like they started a new timeline where he dropped her off in college, and then he becomes like a security guard at the college or something, and now they're reconnected. And there's this beautiful moment in the car where she's like, "I miss you too, Dad."
Yep.
Right now, and I was like, "Oh man,
yeah,
that was so sad and so beautiful." Other than Henry, I don't know if it's the actor or what it was, but he just didn't do anything for me.
He served the purpose. He served the purpose that he had to serve for the role.
This season was almost perfect. I was not happy with what they did with Will, like how he died, but everything else with the red herrings, I was expecting things like from season 1.
See, but I'm okay with it because it's as simple as... So this season, unlike the other seasons, there is no big conspiracy plot. It's just a very simple...
Well, there was.
But not like...
You don't consider that...
No. Realistically, it's just that one family, right? We're not talking about this overarching,
but it's still a conspiracy because they took somebody's daughter, bought someone's daughter.
Yes, but it was only involved one person. It wasn't like they bought all these children and they were just, into a pedophilia ring. Like the others, it's
which
is
different. What we were all expecting.
And so when you get that very cut and dry... Mr. June explaining in the eighth episode, he just explains beginning to end, this is what happened. It's so cut and dry, it's almost ridiculous that we didn't figure it out by the episode 5. It's just so cut and dry. There is not any larger, because it's not really about the mystery, right? That mystery is
all
not
the pieces were there from the beginning.
Yeah, this is about Detective Hayes, his relationships. It's about how do you, move beyond all these tragedies? How do you pick up the pieces? How do you connect with people?
I think that's a good way of putting it. It's not about losing. It's actually about finding things again. And how do you do that? By forgetting the past, because the past is all... I mean, it's time, right? It's about time. It's all one big loop.
It is.
Because the same thing's happening in the 1980 was happening in 90 and then in 2015. So
yeah.
What would you give it?
Oh, I like this a lot more than season 1, so I would give it a 9.5.
Oh, that's my score. 9.5 as well. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I love season 1. Now, I think as far as the episodes themselves...
Well, yes.
The season itself, I like the same as season 1. Equally. as far as the ending, I like this season a whole lot more.
Yeah, the ending this season was
so that's why at 9.5. It was almost a perfect show. Like I said, with the exception of the acting and the whole thing with Will, but you were good with that. So I'm surprised you didn't give it a 10.
No, yeah, well, I mean, like you said, there's a few episodes here and there, but overall, I like this wistful yet happy ending. Because you almost wanted him at the end to recognize Julie, because you feel like, man, it's kind of wistful,
I don't care what the creator said. I think he did.
Yeah, but it's better than some philosophical. For me, I enjoyed that more than the philosophical ending of season 1.
If you haven't seen this and you've sat through here, I don't know why.
Yes,
go see it, because this is what good television is. This is what HBO is made for. Things like this.
And I'm excited to see if the creator is going to move forward with the season 4, what it's going to be. Obviously, whatever formula they tried in season 2 didn't work, but this one had very similar feel and formula plot to season 1, and I hope they just kind of follow.
Yeah, everything flowed so well. The script, the acting.
Oh, the acting.
The atmosphere.
If Stephen Dorff isn't nominated for like an Emmy or at Golden Globe for his role, supporting actor for this, I don't understand why, because he was phenomenal in it by far. And of course, we can't say enough about Mahershala Ali. You know, he's a national treasure for me. So,
but okay.
Anyways, but that was our review and wrap up of season 3 of True Detective. But we want to know what you guys think. So go ahead and leave your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit your like and subscribe button and ring the bell for more notifications of great content from Near Mint Condition. Follow us on all of our social media channels at NearMintCon. And remember, guys, if it's classy and cool, it must be Near Mint. Have a great day, everyone. What are you doing?
I'm keeping away from you because you're sick.
Oh my gosh. You didn't get sick the first time I was sick, so why do you get sick now?
Because I gave it to you.
Oh, that's right.
I think.
Your fault. Yeah, because you had it at the Comic-Con.
No, I got it at the Comic-Con. Just don't give it to me.
Hey, Minties. Oh, nope, that's not. I was looking at this side. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Not sick.
No.
Every time.
God, you sound like death. Okay.
I don't sound like death.
I'm just kidding.
You sound worse last time.
You sound more like Miley Cyrus now, though, than Hannah Montana.
If there's a difference.
I don't know. I never watched the show. I just assumed there was a difference. She doesn't change her voice?
No, she doesn't change her voice.
Did you watch the show?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
It's literally just the hair color.
Oh,
they changed.
That's it? Just a wig? It's a wig, Amanda. It's not the hair
wig
color.
And her outfits, and then they think that she's...
Why are we talking about Hannah Montana? All right, let's do it. True Detective.
True Detective. Okay, ready? Right, okay.